Welcome everyone, you are watching the Gator Sports Network. I'm Dominic Jimenez, and today I will be hosting a very special episode of the Gator Sports Report. We have our biannual roundtable extravaganza. We got all kinds of good stuff, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB regular season, a little bit of an update there, and a recap and look at the NFL draft. But first up, we're going to head to NBA Studio 1, where we've got Derek Dwyer ready to talk about the NBA Western Conference semifinals.
Thanks, Dom. We're here over in Studio 1 talking Western Conference playoff basketball. I got my two NBA analysts, Zach Poff here on my right, and Ethan Cohen, as some call him, E-Money, here on my left.
E-Money.
So let's just get right into it, guys. We got first series we're going to talk, Warriors-Spurs. Warriors lost a brutal double overtime game. They really blew it there. But they bounced back and win game two. What are your thoughts on that series so far, Zach?
Well, it's very impressive for a very young team. You look at the Warriors, average age of 25 in 7 months. I mean, just very impressive. They were able to battle back and win game two. Klay Thompson had 34 and a career-high 14 rebounds on top of that. But a lot of people are saying the Dubs have this series in hand. I disagree with that. The San Antonio Spurs is one of the most experienced teams in the playoffs. Greg Popovich has 4 rings to prove it. San Antonio is not quite done just yet.
So it sounds like you're leaning towards the Spurs, Zach. And let's see if E-Money got a little different perspective for us. You going Warriors or Spurs here? What do you think?
A spur is a cowboy boot accessory, and right now they're playing like a worn-down cowboy boot accessory that Clint Eastwood used in one of his Western movies in the 50s. That cowboy boot accessory is ready to be taken to the dump, and the Warriors are going to do that because Klay Thompson is not only a scorer, he scored 34, but he's also a shutdown defender. And Andrew Bogut is changing shots. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, they want none of Andrew Bogut right now.
So it sounded like E-Money is saying this Spurs squad is washed up. Zach, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be the veteran Spurs squad that gets this done, or is it going to be the youth of the Warriors?
I'm leaning towards the old school boot squad, the San Antonio Spurs. The Warriors are too busy shopping at Kids for Payless to buy their shoes. They're very young right now, still in their diapers. I like the Spurs to wrap that series up in 7 games. I think the leadership of Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, and Tony Parker, along with the young guys, Danny Green, and also Kawhi Leonard, I think that'll be too much for the Warriors to handle, and I think they'll fall under the pressure.
So we got Poff with Spurs in 7. E-Money, before we jump over to the Grizz and Thunder series, who you got in this one?
You know, when I was 15 years old, 16, my dad was 40, 45, and I started beating my dad in one-on-one games. And that's what it looks like right now. It looks like a kid finally being able to beat the guy who raised him, who raised you for 20 years. The Warriors were on the outside looking in, and as a Warrior fan, as a broadcaster, whatever, it's special to see the Warriors are winning in 5. I said
5
it.
games.
Bold prediction. So we got Spurs in 7, Warriors in 5. So they're going to the winner of that series. They'll be meeting the winner of the Grizz Thunder series. So let's just get right into it. Again, another series tied at 1. What are your thoughts on this series so far, Puff, and how do you see it going?
The Grizzlies stole home court, game 2, big-time win. Mike Conley had 26 points, had 9 assists and 10 rebounds. And I think Conley's going to keep doing work. No Russell Westbrook. It doesn't hurt so much on the offensive side of the floor. It's defense where OKC is hurting without Russell Westbrook, one of the best shut-down defenders at the point guard position. Memphis in 6.
So you got Memphis in 6. So E-Money, I know you got a theory about you think the best players generally tend to win these series in the playoffs.
I thought that was your theory. Yeah.
Well, you know, I know you agree with me there. So
You know,
are you leaning Thunder here, or what do you think?
I'm leaning Thunder. I credit Zach. The guy has his stats. The guy, he's a sharp guy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I like Zach, but I'm a hard overhead pick guy, and I think that when Russell Westbrook went down, now it's OKC's time to come together as a team. They're still figuring out how to win games without Russell Westbrook, and when they do figure out how to win games, and when Serge Ibaka figures out how to score at least 8 points a game, which should be easy as a starting center in this league, should be easy. Once you do that, OKC wins this. I'm saying they win it in 7.
All right, so we got OKC and the Grizz. So before we get out of here on the NBA countdown set, Puff, who do you got coming out of these Western Conference Finals?
Give me the Grizzlies. I think they're going to beat the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, and they're going to give the Miami Heat a tough challenge.
All right, E-Money, who you got coming out of the West?
You know, I already bought my Warriors championship tickets, and I'm already planning on what I'm going to do when the Warriors win the championship. I'm going to be in that parade, may or may not have my clothes on. The Golden State Warriors are winning the championship. Of course they're winning the West, baby, and that's a hard overhead pick.
All right, so not only is he going for them in the West, he's going for them overall. For me, give me the Thunder personally.
Keep your clothes
I go
on,
best player. Best player wins the series. That'll do it here for the Western Conference Finals. Look, back to you, Dom.
All right, thanks, guys. A little bit of a little knowledge dropping right here. It's the first time ever that every single semifinals series is tied 1-1. So in the interest of not bombarding you with too much basketball, we're going to change gears a little quick right before we head over to the Eastern Conference semifinals appearance, and we're going to go into a sport that is just getting started. We're going to switch over to baseball and see what's going on with the Giants and the A's and any other big news. We're going to throw things over to Jeff Evans in the dugout. He's got more.
We are here at the Gator Sports Network dugout talking our national pastime of baseball. And wow, all I can say is what a crazy start of this young season it has been. The A's are currently 18-18, Giants are 20-14. What has been the factors, key impacts of the success of both the Athletics and the Giants to start the early season?
The Giants' bats have just been hot. I mean, the Giants' offense is not known. They're definitely known for their pitching, but we're seeing Pence, we're seeing Sandoval, we're seeing Posey. Those guys are making some good contact and hitting the ball well.
I think one common theme that has definitely separated the A's from the Giants is the A's have 7 current active players on their disabled list, as opposed to the Giants' 0 current players. Has that made an impact of the success of both the teams so far this season?
Of course it has. I mean, you look at guys on the DL. We were talking about this earlier. Josh Reddick on the DL, Coco Crisp on the DL, and that's huge for the Oakland A's. I mean, Chris Young, too, who's supposed to be that utility outfielder, he's on the DL also. So that has affected the A's. And you look at the Giants will be fine. They're in first place right now, tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and pitching will come into bay for the San Francisco Giants. I mean, obviously Matt Cain's been struggling here a little bit, but he will be on track, and I think he's going to have a good start here tonight against Atlanta.
So, Lizelle, I know that the Giants, they're hoping to turn things around, playing the big series against the Braves, which is a possible series of the playoffs. What has that panned out to be so far?
So far, well, yesterday, it was the start of the series. Fortunately, the Giants didn't win, with Byron Vogelsong still struggling on the mound. But tonight, we have Matt Cain, who had a bad April, but hopefully he's going to bounce back and be the ace that we know he is against, Hudson, who may or may not have his 200 wins, or he's, chasing after his 200 wins. But I'm still more excited to see Cain and, how he's going to deal tonight, because we really need him. We only have, Bumgarner and Zito, who are lefties. We need our righties to step up.
I think that this offseason there was a lot of significant free agent signings. There's always the Zach Greinke's and the Josh Hamiltons. But this has been the season of players coming out of nowhere and putting up some eye-popping numbers. And just to name a few, I think that one of the best signings has been thus far Mark Reynolds and Chris Davis of the Orioles and the Indians. I mean, what do you think?
Without a doubt, those guys are putting up amazing numbers. Reynolds somehow he's known for striking out, but he's doing a great job putting the ball in play. He's got 11 homers. That leads the American League. The only person he's behind is Justin Upton, so he's definitely had a great year. Another person, though, who's caught my eye has been Paul Goldschmidt. The guy's got 9 homers. He's got 30 RBIs. He looks like NL MVP kind of guy right now. I mean, obviously he'll be competing with Upton over that from what we've seen so far, but I definitely liked him so far.
Well, since he took a couple hitters, I got to go the pitching route, man. Matt Harvey has been an absolute stud for the New York Mets, number 1 in ERA in the National League, also number 1 in strikeouts, has the number 1 whip. This kid is doing work. 24-year-old rookie, Matt Harvey, a name to pay attention to. A lot of people talk about Steven Strasburg and Clayton Kershaw. Matt Harvey's the guy to pay attention to here in 2013.
Well, even in the early part of the season, I mean, we already got Jim Johnson of the Orioles with 13 saves, Jason Grilli of the Pirates with 13 saves. But some of the most amazing players that I've seen so far have been the pitching in the American League. We got Clay Buchholz on top of there, and Hisashi Awakuma of the Mariners. Both of them have an ERA under 1.6, which is
30.
Unheard of, and that is just filthy. So you want to elaborate on that a little more?
Just what they're doing right now at such a young age, and really no one had them as bean guys to be right there. It's impressive in itself, and especially in the American League, which is known as more of the hitting side of the league than obviously the National League.
And finally, our last segment here is there's definitely been many surprise teams coming out of nowhere and some very disappointing teams. And I know on my list, you got to include the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Angels as disappointing teams.
And the Dodgers.
And the Dodgers. What have been a couple of surprising good teams as well?
I'm surprised, honestly, with the Rockies, I guess, because they got Carlos Gonzalez back and Tulowitzki, so I guess, they have their hitting back, but I still pick the Giants over the West.
Boston Red Sox.
Red
I don't think a lot of people saw the Red Sox doing much. And you touched on Clay Buchholz. I mean, the kid's been phenomenal this year, and John Lester has been pitching well. Shane Victorino and Big Poppy's back. Red Sox are a team to watch out for here in 2013.
All right.
Most definitely.
So that will conclude us here at the Gator Sports Network Dugout. I am again Jeff Evans. Back to Dom in the studio.
All right, thanks to everybody, Lizelle, and all you guys. Another, what the Gators baseball team struggled this year, just like you guys were talking about some of the teams that were struggling. They'll look to rebound next season. We're going to take a quick break and throw it over to a special report by our very own Gabe. Throw it over right there. He's got a special report on sign spinning.
It was the most beautiful thing when I first saw it. The legendary Matt Doolin was sign spinning, like, just a couple blocks down the street from my high school. When I first saw it, I already knew I had to do it. I had to spin signs.
I got into sign spinning because of my brother. Like, I've always looked up to him, and he was always there for me, you know? Like, I really had no one in my life, but I would just follow my brother's footsteps. I saw him spinning a sign one day, and I said, oh, it's pretty fun. I'm gonna try that.
If you really want to become a sign spinner, just do it. Just work as a sign spinner, but don't think of it as a job. Think of it as more as an art, as your outlet, or as your hobby. Like, it's not just sign spinning to advertise your sign spinning for fun, you know?
You're gonna have a great time, you're gonna love it, and just keep on going. Don't let anything push you down, you know?
Sign spinning is definitely an art. Just like a paintbrush, you paint the picture, but instead you use your sign to paint something visually. When I sign spin on the corner, I don't want people to just simply read the sign, but actually see sign spinning itself.
Sign spinning, the definition of it doesn't have one. What defines it is the sign spinner himself or herself, you know? It's just what you make of it.
I guess you could say sign spinning, everybody could put their personal touch to it. There's no real way of sign spinning. You're pretty much just putting out what you want to do, how you want to spin the sign. That's what makes it an art.
All right, we don't want to rob you, all of you on the East Coast, talking about your Eastern Conference NBA team. So we're going to go back to the NBA studio, this time with Ethan, join alongside some new analysts and talk about the Eastern Conference semifinals.
How's everybody doing? This is E-Money again. I've been demoted. I went from analyst to mediator. They didn't think I knew enough, but I'm joined alongside two heavy hitters. They're both employed with KMBR. They both fight on and off the camera about sports. They disagree about everything. It's really fun to watch, and I'm excited. To my right, we got Alex Renteria. To my left in the ring, we got Bonte Hill. First question I'm going to ask: the Bulls, they kind of shocked the Heat in Game 1. Nate Robinson, third-string point guard, he took over. Are the Bulls for real, or was this a fluke?
4 teams in 3 years. That's all you need to know about Nate Robinson. There's that. Wow. Are we really going to talk about this series? I mean, Miami did what we all thought they were going to do in Game 2. Yes, the Bulls won Game 1, which is an impressive win. But in the end, Miami is a far better team from top to bottom, just as good defensively. I don't see this game. I see Miami winning 3 in a row. Taking both in Chicago.
All right, Bonte, you see him winning 3 in a row? Or?
Surprisingly, I agree with Alex here. He doesn't always know what he's talking about, but in this instance here, he's right on the money. Miami had, 10 days off, 8, 9, 10 days off. Game 1 was a straight fluke. They were rusty. It's like the Lakers back when they played the Sixers in the finals. They had a bunch of time off, lose Game 1, and they win the next 4 easy. So Chicago, they play hard. That's not going to stop. They're a tough team. Tough defensively. Ron Thibodeau, great coach, but they don't have enough. No Kirk Heinrich, no Luol Deng, the question mark with Derrick Rose. just not enough firepower to stop this Heat team. This Heat team is on a mission to go back-to-back.
I agree. It was interesting seeing the 2003 to 2011 LeBron James reappear in Game 1. Who knows whether or not that side of him will come back. But we got to jump over to the other series in the Eastern Conference. It's the Knicks versus the Pacers. The Knicks, they have so many weapons offensively, but you know, it's kind of, that's the noise you make about the Knicks. Bonte, I'm going to start with you. Are the Knicks for real? Can they pull off this win against the Pacers?
They could beat the Pacers at 7, but are they for real in terms of championship contenders? Absolutely not. They really only have 2 scorers, and that's Carmelo Anthony and J.R. Smith. And you never know what you're going to get out of J.R. Smith. You might get the 3 for 15 J.R. Smith. You might get the 15 for 20 J.R. Smith. We just don't know. Amari Stoudemire will be back for Game 3 to play 10 to 15 minutes a game. He's an offensive threat, but defensively, he's a liability. What the Knicks need is for Raymond Felton to step up and be that X factor, to take over the reins as a third scorer and facilitate the offense more. Not getting Tyson Chandler alley-oops or offensive opportunities is a flat-out joke. You need everybody on the Knicks to step up against this tough Pacers team.
All right, Alex, do you disagree? Do you agree?
Did you even answer the question? Are you picking the Knicks in 7? Is that what it was? I didn't hear
Knicks
it.
are winning.
It was the Knicks in 7, but here's what has to happen for that to happen. I picked Indiana at the beginning of the series. I was a little shocked that they took Game 1. I thought they would win Game 2 if they won any in New York. I like them defensively. To use Bonte's idea, the problem I have with Indiana is they don't have a lot of depth. They're just very strong defensively. They're a very, very good team at home. They're not that good on the road. They've shown that all year long. They got one like every good road team does in the playoffs, and that's all they need to do. Come back home. They play their style of ball. I expect Paul George to give Melo fits like he has the entire season. And again, that second game, that a 30-2 run, is that going to happen again? I don't see that happening. Melo's going to get his shots,
Probably
and he
not.
finally did. But J.R. Smith has been so cold that even Mike Woodson says, I'm going to sit him down if he keeps playing the way he's playing.
Definitely. And can you guys just shake hands? Because that was a great debate. As a sports fan.
J.R. Smith hasn't done anything, and they're 1-1 going to Indiana. I think George Hill's too inconsistent. Lance Stevenson, Lance Stevenson is a starting 2 guard. That's not going to get it done in a heavyweight series like
New
this.
York had
Okay, well, you know, let's finish this off camera. You guys can see the rest of the debate on GSN.com. We're gonna go back to my man Dom, and I think we got a little bit of hockey coming up. Stay tuned.
All right. Thanks, guys. And you know, it's not just the pros making the playoffs. Both SF State men's and women's basketball team made the playoffs this season. Unfortunately, weren't able to advance past the second round. All right, we're going to change it up a little bit here. We're going to go from playoffs, like peak of the season, to a sport whose season hasn't even technically started yet. We're going to go over to the NFL, our very own GSN draft room, I'm going to send it over to Cody. Cody, what you got?
Thanks, Dom. Now, we all know the NFL offseason is quite long. But I think it's about that time of year where we can start talking a little 49ers Raiders football. So to my left here, we have Austin Stanley, Rob Marchant,
It's all right.
and Chris Heffernan. So fellas, we'll start off with the 49ers. Give me a guy that you liked out of their draft, and more importantly, where do you see them fitting on this 49ers roster?
All right, I like tight end Vance McDonald from Rice University. He was only ranked 131, but he's 6'1", 267 pounds. And most importantly, not only is he big enough to play in the NFL, but he was also used as a slot receiver by Rice. He caught 2 touchdowns, caught 36 passes, ran for almost 500 yards. We all know that Harbaugh likes to play sneaky. I think Vance will let Harbaugh play sneaky.
Now, I'm really interested in Quentin Patton, wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech. In 2 years, racked up 24 touchdowns. 2,600 yards. He's got great hands, catches away from the body, real good at slant routes, and if a cornerback hesitates, he'll beat him deep.
And I'm looking at the Niners' first-round pick, Eric Reed, safety from LSU. I really like this pick, and the fact that the Niners moved up from the 31st pick to the 18th pick really lets you know how high they were on Harbaugh's draft board. I actually have him starting week 1. And making a big impact. So I'm also looking at the second-round pick, Tank Carradine from Florida State. Nice athletic body.
Well, I think we can all agree that the 49ers definitely have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. But how do you guys see it playing out in terms of wins? Do you think they get back to the Super Bowl? You think they can finish off unfinished business?
I think a trip to the Super Bowl is hard no matter where you are. But I think the Niners, if anybody, can do it. With young players like Kaepernick and Reed, I think they got it. Young energy, young heart, I think they can do it.
Austin, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I think there's a lot of pressure on teams repeating. In the history, there's only ever been 7 teams to go to back-to-back Super Bowls. I think the 2004 Pats were the last one. And there's going to be too much pressure on the Niners. Everyone's going to be looking at them on the schedule and thinking this is my chance to take out the division champs.
I actually have them as the 8th team to go back to the Super Bowl this year. I got them winning the NFC West, and they'll have a few more losses on their regular season record with a tougher regular season schedule this year. But I have the Niners dominating the NFL for at least the next 3-4 years.
All right. Well, we go from one Super Bowl contender to a team in full-blown rebuilding mode. The Oakland Raiders. Did they do enough in this draft to fill up one of their many needs?
I don't think they did enough, but I think they made the smart choice by getting Bryce Butler from San Diego State. He played 3 years at USC, left because he didn't do well with the coach. But his freshman year, he was an All-American freshman Pac-10. So I think that with a good coach and good coaching, he can come out and be the player he could have been at USC.
I think McKenzie and Dennis Allen have done a great job rebuilding the Raiders. They may not be winning the division this year. It's a tough division. But they're making good starts. And with linebacker Sayo Moore, I think he's a great player, dominated the draft, dominated the combine, great stats. Out of all linebackers, he finished top 5 in all categories but one. And I think it's going to show on the football field.
I'm looking at DJ Hayden, their first-round pick, cornerback from Houston. It's kind of unfair because we're dealing with the Raiders here to really try to focus on their draft picks as a rebuilding factor for the team. There's a lot more going on than just their draft picks. They got a quarterback battle to deal with. Matt Flynn just in town with Terrell Pryor and their 4th-round pick, Tyler Wilson. I actually really like him as well. But, yeah, they kind of caught me off guard with this DJ Hayden coming out of the Conference USA, where he almost died in the practice in the Conference USA. So we'll see how he does trying to help the Raiders rebuild.
They win more than 2 games this year? They go better than 2-14?
Yeah, I got them winning 4 games this year. So, rebuilding slowly but surely.
I definitely think we're going to see a lot of improvements out of the Raiders this year. Like I said, they got a tough schedule, but they made a lot of improvements, and they got a lot of leadership.
All right, guys, with that, we're going to toss you back to Dom to cover some hockey.
All right, thanks, guys. We're going to transition from football to another sport that has a lot of hard hits, and it's in the middle of the playoffs. We're going to throw it over to Andy and Jake over in our hockey room, talk some ice.
I'm Jake Becker. This is Andy Bench from the San Francisco State hockey team. Real quickly here, we're going to go ahead and run through our picks for this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's start up here with Pittsburgh number 1 and number 8 seed Islanders.
Yeah, we got Pittsburgh up 3-2 right now. Arguably one of the best teams in hockey, if not the best. So it looks like Pittsburgh's going to close that out in 6.
I think they're going to take that also. They got Sidney Crosby back. The headgear's helping out. Looks a little weird, but with the best player in the league, you expect to get on to another round of the playoffs, and I think that's just what's going to happen right here. If we look down here at Ottawa, Montreal, already see one team's off. Ottawa, the remaining Canadian team, the last one that will stand. Canadian team hasn't won in over a decade, I think, and I think it's going to stay that way too because we have a number 7 seed moving on to play Pittsburgh. Are they playing Pittsburgh or?
Oh, we still have to figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we've already decided they're playing Pittsburgh, so they're going to be playing either Pittsburgh or Islanders and losing. Going on next, we have our Washington and New York Rangers tied up, so that could be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's 2-2 right now. I picked the Rangers at the start of the series. I like Ovechkin, but I think he's got a little bit of learning to do on two-way hockey. So I like the Rangers to pull that out.
I also picked them. He's getting kind of lazy in the playoffs here. I saw some videos of him playing the other day, watched some games. They're just not looking as sharp as they did during the regular season. One team that is looking sharp, though, is Boston down there. They've got a team that has two-game lead over Toronto. They've got some of the best defense out there. I think they're going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Boston, too. They got a lot of championship experience from 2 years ago. Let's move on to the West. We got Chicago. That was pretty much a slam dunk series right there. Best team in the West. Anaheim and Detroit. I like Detroit to pull the upset even though they're down 3-2. What about you, Jake?
I was thinking that was going to be one of my only upsets. I didn't expect Ottawa to win, but I do expect Detroit to come back and at least give Anaheim a run for their money, probably win the series too, because they're just a playoff team. They've always been built for the playoffs. They always, they never get stuck in the first round. It's them.
That should at least go to Game 7.
So here we have the blowout. The San Jose Sharks swept the Vancouver Canucks in their series, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, all the Sharks players, top to bottom, outplayed Vancouver.
And here is another interesting one. St. Louis started off the series up 2 games. Los Angeles has won 3 in a row. They haven't lost a home game in about 2 months, so I don't see a reason why they would lose their next game at home.
Yeah, defending champs, too good to get knocked out in round 1.
They're going to be moving on. And that's about it for the San Francisco State Hockey. I'm Jake, this is Andy, and we're going to go ahead and send it back to Dom now.
All right, thanks, guys. That'll do it for us here at the Gator Sports Network Roundtable Extravaganza Special. On behalf of all of our hosts and analysts, I'm Dominic Jimenez. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us all semester long. We will be back in the fall. Everybody, thank you for watching. Once again, we are out of here.